All right, man, I have so much to talk about. Just do not have time. My girlfriend isn't working right now, and I have to work overtime, and I've been DJing a whole bunch and whatnot. So just haven't had the time. I got a bunch of half information things here, but I feel like I needed to post them. A lot of these games I wanted to talk about. I mean, if you just go watch them, they're ridiculous. Number 17 has just been owning it lately in every sport. I mean, every game I've seen, football, even basketball, baseball, whatever. But anyway, I'm just going to start it off here with the Chicago Cubs game. I didn't even get to watch the whole game even, but in the fifth inning, uh, this guy homered, and it was the 89th pitch of number 52 pitching. And once again, 8-9 is literally the 221st day. 221 is the 52nd day. It all connects. But then right after that, he was relieved by this guy. And then on this dude's fifth pitch, this guy hit a home run to give him 5 runs in the fifth inning, even. So the fifth inning, the fifth pitch, this guy hits a home run to give him 5 runs to make it the score 5-2. And this guy literally replaced number 52. Chris Bryant also, of course, is number 17. And this, just check out their names in gematria here. So Chris Bryant is 47, and Anthony Rizzo, the other guy who hit the home run, 74. The mirrors, whatever, tons of stuff with 74. But I'm not gonna go back and explain a lot in this video, just because I don't have enough time. And literally all of these videos are like just a work in progress. I mean, I just build off of the other ones, but I'm not going to explain as much as I usually do. So anyway, this guy's other guy's name in gematria is also 191. I've been talking about how I've seen the 91s a whole bunch lately. Chicago Cubs even adds up to 91. Jimmy Carter turned 91 on October 1st with 91 days left until the end of the year. The same day of the Roseburg, Oregon shooting. Interesting too, somebody showed me that Dennis Rodman is also 91. Can't believe I didn't even realize that, because I have his jersey even for when he played for the Bulls. But Dennis Rodman was number 91, and I talked about all the Space Jam coding and how it tied into Michael Jordan. Tons of things with Michael Jordan over and over with the 10-6 and the 922 and 923 coding. But you also had another Bulls player, Steve Kerr, who coached. He was the first rookie coach to coach a team to win the finals in his rookie season. Yeah, the first Kerr, the first rookie coach to win a championship since Pat Riley in 1982. So 33 years ago even. But interesting. So you got Steve Kerr, a former Bull. On when Space Jam came out, he was on the Bulls that won the finals. You had Dennis Rodman, who's number 91. Also, Dennis Rodman, he fits the whole gay marriage agenda and stuff, like wearing a wedding dress to when he married himself or whatever. You also had Dennis Rodman, who went to North Korea, and that was a big old deal when he went to North Korea and whatnot. So just find that interesting. North Korea has been in the news a whole bunch lately. I even had this picture. We've talked about the 239 a whole bunch, and I got sent this picture here with Kim Jong Un or whatever by the plane with the 239 on it. I mean, pretty ridiculous stuff. Makes me wonder about the other Bulls. Then you have Dennis Rodman and Steve Kerr and Michael Jordan. Just makes me wonder about Scottie Pippen. I remember his daughter was in the news not that long ago. I think it was this year. It was back in April. And interesting, she goes to the University of Iowa, which I mentioned in the last video about how the Arizona school shooting or whatever was tied into Iowa Hawkeyes. So I actually watched part of that game as well. There was a few things in that game, and it also led me to a whole nother thing here. So before I even talk about that, I just wanted to show the lineup here. When Space Jam came out, this was the Chicago Bulls lineup. I don't know. Like I said, we had Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr, then Dennis Rodman, and Scottie Pippen, all big characters. Makes me wonder about like Luke Longley or something, if he's going to be in the news. Who knows? Just wanted to point that out, I guess. It just seems kind of interesting. Like I said, I've only done like half information. I just haven't had the time to really look into it. But whatever, I looked up the flu game because it was in this season. And the flu game is just ridiculous. So it was game 5. Michael Jordan had the flu. Then magically he had the strength to come and play, even though he felt horrible or whatever. But I mean, literally, he finished the game with 38 points, blah, blah, blah. Malone scored 19 points. He was the highest for the other team. Jordan stayed on the court for 44 minutes, resting for only 4 minutes. So they want you to see the 44 resting for only 4. It was called the flu game, which adds up to 44. It even played in the Delta Center, which adds up to 44. Dennis Rodman even had 34 rebounds in one game, and that game was played on 3/4, March 4th. Anyway, just want to move on to the Iowa game then. Also, I guess, of this Cubs game, though. The Cubs and Cardinals, I don't know if you watched it, but number 22 for the Cardinals had an awesome game. And 22 has been a big focus. As of the last few weeks, I've noticed 22 a whole bunch again. I mean, look at this. He is even born on 8/9 of 89. And I said that the home run earlier was on the 89th pitch even. Anyway, in this Iowa game, so Iowa was ranked 22. I talked about how it all connected to BYU, when Nebraska lost on the Hail Mary or whatever. And then BYU was number 22, and they played Michigan, and Michigan beat them and became number 22. And it all ties back clear to the 1997 championship when Michigan and Nebraska had to split it. Iowa's former quarterback is even Michigan's starting quarterback now, but then Iowa is number 22 now. Even in the Nebraska game, I didn't watch all of it. I watched just pieces of it. But Nebraska literally lost again in the fourth quarter, which adds up to 71, by a field goal, which adds up to 71. And actually, I apologize. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to make a whole separate video that's a lot more on topic. I'm just going to kind of ramble on this one and ramble off some random things, I guess. So last night when the Royals played and lost, George H.W. Bush, or Bush 41, was the one who threw the opening pitch or whatever. So just thought that was interesting. Been talking about him lately. He's 91 years old. He turned 91 on June 11th or June 12th. And they even make sure that you know that he is Bush 41 and not Bush 43, because that's the number of president they were or whatever. I mean, it's just pretty ridiculous they'd even have to write that in there. And then, of course, Kansas City lost or whatever, and just like today, they came back and won. And I talked about that in the previous video about how in 1985, and it all tied into Back to the Future, they were down 3-1 twice, and they came back, and then they even won the World Series that year, their only World Series. But another thing I forgot to mention again was the reason that I think that Kansas City might win it all is because of this video here with the Pope actually catching a home run ball. It's all tied into Pope Francis and whatnot going to Philadelphia. But just going to play a little clip there, and then, of course, Pope Francis adds up to 122, just like Kansas City. We had San Francisco as 122. Another one, Dennis Rodman actually came from San Antonio to go to the Chicago Bulls, and he was wearing number 10, but the Bulls wouldn't let him wear number 10 because of, I think it was Bob Love, kind of like a Lupercalia or a Valentine's reference. And the reason he chose 91 was because 9 plus 1 equals 10. And San Antonio also adds up to 122. So, and man, I had that a long time ago. I just never talked about it, I guess. But, of course, I only say that because of the curse of the Billy Goat. It doesn't necessarily specify that the Cubs are going to win the World Series. It might just be that they're going to make the World Series. So that's why I thought that the Royals might actually win the World Series. But I never looked into all the other teams either. But Kansas City, with the Pope going there, or the Pope catching this ball or whatever, pretty interesting stuff. Also, remember in iPad Go, and I don't think I put this in the other video, but George Bush in the very beginning, he says, "Fool me once, shame on you, which adds up to 239. And we've talked about this number over and over and over. Pope Francis even came on 923 or 922 when he went to the White House on 923 at 9:23 in the morning. And it's the 239th year of the United States. Actually, there's 239 chapters in the Book of Mormon. And I'll actually talk about that in the next video. It's way more on point. It ties into a lot of this college football I've been talking about again. Also, I've been talking about the number 60 over and over. The number 60 has been coded like crazy, and it goes together with the number 55 because 55 was 60 years ago and 60 was 55 years ago. Even in sports, every time there's a number 60, like at the baseball game, number 60, he's won every game. So I can't even think of what team it was or whatever. I think it was the Royals game last night, actually. I think number 60 was the pitcher. But regardless, you can go back and look and just look for players and whatever numbers 60 and 55. It always seems like whenever they're doing well, I mean, they're going to win the game no matter what. So, and I even talked about it, I think, with the 2 home runs the other night, where it was number 60 and then number 55. But anyway, the Curse of the Billy Goat was 10/6/1945. And if you go to 9/11 of 2001, it's 55 years, 11 months, and 5 days. Kind of like, 11 and 5 is even 55, 55 and 11. Just found that pretty interesting. And it all started, the pet goat theme, I Pet Goat, came from George Bush reading My Pet Goat to the kids at Emma Booker School in Florida. And I'll just pull it back up here to show you what I'm talking about. Or it's The Pet Goat, but a lot of people call it My Pet Goat. But anyway, yeah, George Bush was reading this book to children at this high school when the plane supposedly hit the World Trade Center. And there's a picture of him. Now, and then he was, they talk crap about him because he didn't get up and leave right away. He stayed there and kept reading, supposedly. Of course, too, The Pet Goat adds up to 45, just like Cubs. Whole bunch of other 45 stuff I talked about. Valentine's is the 45th day. It's in a book called Reading Mastery 2 Storybook 1, which adds up to 144, a number we've seen over and over and over. But anyway, even on here, on the chalkboard here, it has all the hearts up here and then the heart down here, referring to the love or Lupercalia even. But evil is literally love backwards, and love adds up to 54, the mirror of 45. So evil could even be 45. If you add evil TN, it adds up to 88. That all ties into Back to the Future, the speed and time travel, whatever. But the missing letters are U, I, and O, which add up to 45 even. It's even 7 minutes and 30 seconds long. 7 minutes and 30 seconds is 450 minutes, kind of like 45 if you take out the 0. And also the 923 we've talked about over and over and over. Like I said, fool me once, shame on you is even 239. It all ties into the 923. Where did my calculator go? But 923 to Valentine's Day of next year. 144 days. Bill Murray in Back to the Future interviewed the lady that said the end of the world would be 2016 on Valentine's Day. And I'm just going to end this video on this here. So I thought about Springfield, Illinois, where Abraham Lincoln basically was like his hometown. I believe he's even buried there. But Springfield, Illinois. And I thought of The Simpsons, and I thought of the nuclear power plant and all of that and whatever. And I wanted to know where Springfield actually came from, and I looked it up here. And it says it's named after Springfield, Oregon. The only reason is that when I was a kid, the TV show Father Knows Best took place in the town of Springfield, and I imagine that that was my town or whatever next to Portland, Oregon. Anyway, just want to point out the weird coincidence. Never even heard of the show at all until just the other day. Father Knows Best. I got a comment from Rita511 saying she had a dream about this guy who starred in Father Knows Best, Robert Young. He died at the age of 91 and even went to Abraham Lincoln High School. Father Knows Best adds up to 60 even, but just some weird stuff. Wanted to point that out. Like I said, next video will be a little more on topic, so have a great night.